Say, what's cracking, YouTube? It's your boy 16 to life, and I'm back like I'm on a parole violation. Yard down. For those of y'all that's new to my page, in 1994, I got arrested. I was eventually sentenced to 16 years plus life, and I served 24 years straight in the California prison system, man. So let's hop right up in today's video, man. So I'm out and about, chilling on the weekend or whatever, and I happen to turn on my YouTube channel, and I'm scrolling, and I see where it says exposed tube gets exposed again. So I guess who Exposed Tube is, he's a dude who makes a lot of videos talking about Dubs. It seems like he has a problem with Dubs for whatever reason, right? He's one of the many dudes who makes videos about Dubs. On any given day, you literally can find maybe 5 or 6 different channels, making videos about Dubs. Dubs has seemed to rub a lot of people in the wrong way. So L from APA, A Prisoner's Awakening, he had done an interview with a dude a while ago. And this dude was saying that he was on, I believe, D Yard in Calipat, but he was on the SNY Yard. This dude said he was on the SNY Yard with Dubs. Now, this was well before, Dubs was slowly, somewhat admitting through basically not necessarily admitting it verbally, but admitting it through these videos that, yes, all that individuals have heard about him is true, that he was on a PC yard, so on and so forth, because I remember seeing, at times, seeing Dubs saying videos that there was nothing about him to expose, right? And so, for whatever reason, right, people who watch these channels at some point in time, they want to know what's the real deal with the person that they're watching, right? For a long time, I've been doing my YouTube videos. Well, I'll say maybe about when I first started, maybe the first few months, right? And I never would say what I went to jail for, because I was trying to be respectful to the family of my victim, right? But after a while, people say, hey, man, why'd you go to jail? Where'd you go to jail? And I think that's a fair question, right? Because people want to make sure they're not watching somebody with some weird charges. And then if you have 1 iota of tough guy talk in your videos, and they want to know, did this guy walk the walk, and or does this guy just talk the talk, right? So even if a person has never been to prison, right, they still want to know, hey, man, am I watching the real deal, or am I watching somebody that's, that's just behind the camera and the screen making up these stories, so on and so forth, right? And so in my opinion, I mean, does the content creator owe his viewers that? Not necessarily, right? But I also view it like this. If an individual doesn't have anything to hide, then why not? Why not come out and be forthcoming with the individuals that you are watching, so they can make an informed decision on whether they want to choose to watch you or what, or not. Some people do have a problem with dudes who PC'd up for whatever reason. Right now, Dub, he likes to clown me for going to CMC, right? Because CMC at that time, I don't know what it is now, because the California Department of Corrections has a tendency sometimes to change yards, switch yards, make things whatever. I believe it's a 50-50 yard now, but 50-50 yards didn't even start until after I was released in 2018. But anyway, that was a spot that was not a cool spot to go for Southerners, Northerners, and whites. For the Pisces, the others, and the blacks, there was no restrictions among their people, right? And so, but Dubs, he likes to clown me for going there, but I've never hid the fact that I went there. I've always told my story, so on and so forth, right? So you have people wondering, hey, man, well, why Dubs doesn't tell any stories about being on the SNY Yard? If he wants to sit back and try to clown Chill for going to CMC for a prison that was good, why doesn't he also be forthcoming about his history, about where he paroled from, about going to an SNY Yard? And to be honest, the only thing that I can think of, honestly, is he's ashamed of that part of his life. That's why that's something that he hides and he doesn't talk about, right? So once again, you have this individual who does an interview with APA, L. And so he done the interview maybe about 3 or 4 months, maybe longer than that, before I ended up inserting a portion of that interview into one of my videos, you know, to highlight that, yes, you have, because at one point, remember, see, Dubs, he lies so much, right? And I know that I know a lot of the viewers, they don't pay attention to this stuff, or they don't necessarily catch certain things about prison like an individual who has been to prison would, or like myself, you know, due to the fact that I'm a content creator, I pay attention to things in a different way, in different ways, I believe, than other people, right? But in one of the videos, Dub says that, you know, why don't you never have any Southsiders, any former Southsiders, or anybody who's ran with the South to say that, you know, I was on an SNY yard, you know. So that was the whole reason of me inserting that video into my video, because once again, Dubs says a lot of things himself that are not true. Dubs has been caught in numerous lies. So that was the whole reason of me putting that video in my video. So I guess at the time he done that interview with L, I don't believe he had a channel. So I don't believe he had his channel called Exposed Tube. So like I said, he did the interview many months before I used the interview. Before I inserted the interview. So once I did, by that time his channel was up and running, and then you had a lot of people in the comments saying, hey, you know what? That sounds like that guy on Exposed Tube. You know, his speech pattern, and, you know, a lot of the way he would say certain things. You know, a lot of people were saying, hey man, that's Exposed Tube. So you know, I've never really watched his channel. I may have watched a video or two, right? But I've really never just looked at his channel a whole lot. But, you know, so I guess a lot of people was interested once again in finding out who he was. I guess he goes up there and he doesn't expose his face or whatever. And so, you know, people, sometimes they want to, you know, they want to know who's talking and so on and so forth, right? So I guess you had people trying to figure out who he was. And so now they're saying that, you know, they know who the guy is and so on and so forth, I guess. And, you know, they got pictures of him. So then Dubs, I seen in the video today, because, yeah, I still watch Dubs periodically due to the fact that I'm a content creator. And, you know, for me, I still watch Dubs periodically. I don't know, because something just happened with my screen or whatever, so I'm gonna repeat this just in case it didn't get what I just said. I still watch Dubs and a lot of other dudes because I'm a content creator, right? I don't take none of this stuff personal. A lot of people to get in their feelings, they'll stop watching people and so on and so forth. But the way I view it, man, this is my job to be aware on things that I know my audience is interested in, right? And so they have a picture of this guy now, and so people are saying that, yeah, this is this guy, this is the Exposed Tube, so on and so forth. So Dubs, he says, hey, yeah, man, I know that guy. You know, I was in the building with that guy. I actually felt sorry for that guy. You know, the guy didn't have any friends, so on and so forth. So pretty much Dubs is verifying that, yes, this guy and Dubs were in the building together on the SNY yard, as his guy once said, right? So once again, it comes to mind, and the question is there, why was Dubs so ashamed of being on the SNY yard? Why didn't he just come straight out and admit, hey, yeah, you know, I went to prison, man, and whatever the situation was, you know, at some point in time, I went SNY, you know, because I definitely feel that now that all this information has came out about Dubs has went SNY, he's debriefed. Dubs has toned his tough guy rhetoric down a whole lot, with the exception of, once again, once he gets drunk. When he gets drunk, you know, then he's a gang member again. He's representing his hood and so on and so forth. But in my opinion, at this point, you know, he had to tone the tough guy rhetoric down. He had to tone his racism down a whole lot, because now, you know, it's almost like he's on a campaign to get a certain type of image, you know, change from the other type of image that he had. You know, I've seen videos that he'll do now, and to me, he takes these videos in a totally different space, and he goes in a totally different direction than he would have went with some of these videos 2 years ago, when, you know, he would have these sneaky underlined or underhand things to say about blacks and so on and so forth. You know, Dubs would love to get his jabs in one way or another, right? And honestly, Dubs getting his jabs in is kind of what led to us having a falling out. He did a video where a black dude in the feds said that the blacks were afraid of Mexicans, and Dubs, you know, he made a video out of that. He highlighted it, so on and so forth. I disagree with that video, and Dubs got upset, and that's where things went bad, right? But so I'll see him do videos now, and a lot of times, in my opinion, and just my opinion, right, he'll go in a totally different direction than he would have went a couple of years ago. Now he'll travel the road of, hey man, you know, I'm a prison do-gooder, I'm a former lifer, and I'm trying to send a positive message. But anybody who's watched Dubs for a long time knows that his messages were not always positive. At some point in time when he first started, he says on his page, I'm not going to be telling war stories. This channel is not going to be about war stories, so on and so forth. And slowly but surely, he got caught up into all that type of stuff, right? Which, of course, is, you know, his prerogative. But I'm just pointing out the contrast in, you know, the Dubs when he first started and then the Dubs he turned into later on, right? And I think that's why you have so many different channels and different individuals making videos about Dubs. You know, nobody, you know, you have a lot of people, right, who see a lot of faults in Dubs, and Dubs is unwilling to see those faults, you know. So I think that is a big issue with why so many people get on Dubs as Helmito in these videos. You know, I even seen a dude who says he is a pastor making videos and stuff about Dubs. And so once again, Dubs though has admitted to knowing this individual on the SNY yard, right? So the question is still there. Why is that something that Dubs hid, you know? But once again, I believe now with, you know, his paperwork coming out, you know, his lawsuits talking about he was on SNY. He didn't want the police to house him with general population because his life was on the line, with his transcripts coming out talking about he debriefed and so on and so forth, you know, and he still denies that, you know, he had to tell on anybody. And, you know, but everyone who knows anything about the debriefing process knows that, you know, in order to debrief successfully, that is something that is a requirement, right? But it applies to everybody but Dubs. But so I'm just making this quick video to say that yes, Dubs is admitting now to having at least a small amount of history with the guy Exposed Tube, who says he knows Dubs from the SNY yard. Anyway, man, maybe tomorrow I'll get around to reacting to those transcripts, to Dubs' board transcripts, right? The thing is that the video, his transcripts is 2 hours, right? And it's just a long, so if I sit there and react to it, that's 2 hours I have to sit there, and then if I give my input, it turns that 2 hour video into possibly a 3 or 4 hour video, at least 3 hours, right? Then I have to edit it and all that stuff. And that's the reason that I've been procrastinating and dragging my feet. But listen, y'all, do not worry, man. That Dubs diss song is still coming. A lot of people have been hitting me up inquiring about that, asking me to drop the full song, and I'm gonna definitely drop the full song. You know, I just procrastinate a bit, and to keep it 100, that song is something that I'm really not interested in, right? It is a good song though. You know, I know a good song when I hear one, man, and a lot of people are requesting it, and so I'm gonna finish up this mixtape I'm gonna be working on, and I'm gonna put it on there. Anyway, man, y'all already know what time it is. It's your boy 16 of Life. Resume normal program.